everyone, and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda, and in today's video we're going to be doing a gel polish design with a sunset theme. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. If you do enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and comment, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now to start off with, I'm going to apply my rubber base coat. So I like to apply a thin layer of the rubber base coat and really work it into the nail tip. Now I am working on tips, so the base coat is optional. You don't necessarily have to apply the base coat when you're working on top of tips or if you're doing press-on nails. However, I do find that the gel polishes apply a lot nicer when you're working over a base coat, so I always like to just do that step anyway. Then let's take a look at the colours we're going to be using today. So I'm using Neon Prints, which is from the Neon collection, and the rest of the colours I'm using are from the Neon Pastels. So we have Purple Rain here, which is such a gorgeous purple. And then next up we have Flik. Now I went for these colours because I felt like they all worked really well together to create that sunset vibe. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And then the last colour I have is Coral Bay. This is such a gorgeous colour. It does always show up a little bit more orange on camera compared to how coral it looks in real life. So to begin with, I'm going to be doing a 4-colour ombre using all 4 of those colours. So I'm coming in with Neon Prints to begin with. Now Neon Prints is very, very highly pigmented. That particular colour, if I'm doing a full colour now, I can get away with only doing 1 coat because of how pigmented it is. So I did find it a little bit tricky when it comes to ombre in that one because it kind of took over the purple a little bit, but you'll see how I work around that as we get through the video. So as you can see, I've applied all 4 of those colours. I'm always checking my brush that I haven't got any of the previous colour on it before I pop it back into the bottle. Then to blend those colours together, I'm going to be using my Kiki London Ombre brush. So to begin with, I'm going to blend the Neon Prints into the Purple Rain. And this is where I started to think, because of how pigmented Neon Prints was, it was going to be a little bit of a tricky ombre. So what I'm doing is, after blending the colours together a little bit, I'm wiping my brush off on a lint-free pad just so I don't take too much of that Neon Prints into the Purple Rain. It did still end up overtaking it a little bit, so when it comes to doing the second coat, I actually apply a little bit less of the Neon Prints and a little bit more of the Purple Rain just to combat that. As I'm working my way down the nail and switching from the Neon Prints and the Purple Rain to the Purple Rain and Flik, I'm making sure to give my brush a good clean on a lint-free pad, just so I don't take any of that Neon Prints down towards the Flik, just to make sure you've got a nice clean ombre. And then again, before going into the Flik and the Coral Bay, I'm making sure to give the brush a good clean. Whenever you see my brush going out of shot, that's when I've been cleaning it off. So I'm going to pop that first coat in to cure for 30 seconds, and this is what the first coat looks like. So the first coat of an ombre doesn't always look great, but that's okay. You can perfect it on the second coat. So here you see, when I'm coming in and applying the Neon Prints, I've only applied half of the amount of what I did on the first coat, and then I'm coming in with a larger section of the Purple Rain, just so we still get to see a little bit of that purple. Otherwise, I found there was a lot more of the Neon Prints. But the same as before, I'm just painting on my colours. You don't want to apply a too thick layer, by the way, but you do want to make sure there's enough polish there that you can move it backwards and forwards and blend it together. So then I'm going to take that ombre brush, and when it comes to blending, I'm just running through the line to begin with. So the line where those 2 colours meet, I'm blending that in first of all. And then if I need to go up or down into one of the colours, I'll do that. I kind of just judge it depending on how well each colour is blending. Certain colours blend a lot easier than others. In this particular design, the 3 colours from the Neon Pastel collection, so the Purple Rain, the Flik and the Coral Bay, they blended very easily. They all have that creamy consistency to them, so I find that a little bit easier to blend. Here I did just come in with a little bit more of the Purple Rain on my ombre brush, just so I could help blend it in with the Neon Prints, just to create a bit more of a softer transition, because those 2 colours are quite different. Then I'm doing the same as before, making sure to clean off my brush before I start blending the next two colours. And I'm simply just taking that brush backwards and forwards and mixing those two colours into each other. Now, ombres can be a little bit tricky and they do take a little bit of practice. I found them a lot easier to do since having the Kiki London ombre brush. But I would suggest if you're just starting out in ombres, try practicing with colours that are similar, so like a dark pink and a lighter pink, or a pink and an orange, because the more similar the two colours are, the easier they'll blend together, so it helps you get that practice in. And another thing I want to say is once you've finished doing your ombre, let it sit for a moment before popping it into cure. By letting it sit, it just allows the colours to bleed into one another a little bit more, and it softens any of those lines that you might have put into the blend with your brush. Once I have cured that ombre, I'm going to come in and top coat using the No Wipe matte top coat. Now I'm top coating with the matte top coat because I want to do some hand painted nail art over the top, and I prefer hand painting over a matte surface. Popping the top coat down as well really helps to smooth out all of the design. When you're doing an ombre, you might find that the gel is a little bit uneven, so popping that layer of top coat down before trying to hand paint over the top gives you that really nice smooth surface to work on top of. Now I did that ombre design on two nails and matte top coated both of them, so this is what they look like. I was really impressed with how these turned out, and I would happily wear them plain without any nail art over the top because I do love a matte ombre. But for this design I wanted to come in and add some hand painting, so I'm taking the Kiki London Black Heart along with the Kiki London Stripe Liner Brush. If you haven't got this brush, you need to get it. It is absolutely amazing for any kind of hand painted nail art. Now to begin with, when I'm first going to be using my stripe liner brush, I like to really run it through the gel polish just to make sure you soften up all of the bristles and get a nice even coating of the gel polish throughout all of the bristles, rather than the gel polish, sorry, just sitting on the surface of the brush, if that makes sense. So I like to really work it through the gel polish and then rub off any excess, because you don't want there to be too much on your brush, especially when you're hand painting with black, because it can get a little bit messy. And I find that the less polish I have on my brush, the easier it is to control. Now for this design, I'm going to paint on a palm tree. So I've painted on like the bottom part. I just wanted it to look like either water or rocks, just so there was a bit of a base and there wasn't just the palm tree sticking out. Then I've drawn on the trunk for my palm tree, and we're now going to move on to the branches and the leaves. So I've painted on a thin line to act as my sort of branch for the leaves, and then when it comes to doing the leaves, I've only added a tiny amount of gel polish to the very tip of my brush, and then I'm using a lot of the gel polish that we applied for the branch, and I'm just feathering that out. Now I am flash curing this every now and then just so I don't smudge it. So when I say I'm flash curing it, I'm just popping it in my Kiki London LED lamp for the 10-second function. This doesn't fully cure the gel polish, it kind of just freezes it in place, and it will stop you from smudging it, or if you make a mistake and need to wipe a certain section off, the part that you've flash cured isn't going to wipe off. So I find the 10-second setting on the Kiki London lamp a godsend when it comes to hand painting, because I do make mistakes now and then and I will need to wipe off the mistakes, but by flash curing it means I'm not going to wipe off the rest of my design. And then I've just been continuing that process to add on a few different branches and leaves on to the palm tree, and I absolutely loved how the black looked against that colourful ombre background. Now to continue, I didn't want to overdo it on the nail art on each nail, because I do want to be able to still see the ombre background. So on this nail, just to finish it off, I'm going to add on two little birds, which are just little squiggles, really simple to do, but they just help add that extra bit of detail. And then because I finished that now, I'm going to pop it in for a full 30-second cure, just to make sure all of that gel polish has fully cured, because like I said, the 10-second flash cure doesn't fully cure it. So make sure you always just pop your nail in for a full 30-second cure at the end, to make sure everything's cured nicely. Then we're going to move on to the second nail. Now I wanted to do a very similar design on this one. I wanted these to be the main focal point of the design. I didn't want to do them exactly the same though. So on this one, I've kind of just drew out a bottom again. So this could be either some water or some rocks or just some grass, just as a base, because I felt that looked better than just having the plants or the leaves coming out of the bottom of the nail. And then on this now, I'm kind of just going to draw on some grass and some reeds like you would see on a like tropical beach. I didn't fully have a design in mind for this set of nails. I just knew I wanted to have that sunset base. So I went and looked on Google, Instagram, Pinterest at some sunset themes and sunset scenery. And then I just sort of sat at my nail desk and put this together. Now I'm being really careful when we're painting on the reeds. I want the branches or the stems to be nice and thin, and that's one of the reasons why I love the Kiki London Black Heart gel polish. It's very highly pigmented, so you only need one coat of it, but it means you're able to draw on really nice thin lines because you don't necessarily have to come over them with a second coat. I did make a little bit of a mistake here, and rather than wiping off the whole design, I decided to come in with my angled nail art brush. I've wiped it onto one of the Kiki London alcohol pads, and this has just moistened it enough that I can clean up and clean off that mistake that I've made and just make the design look a little bit neater. On this side, I'm just painting on some little like a grassy bush, and it was really simple to do using the stripe liner brush because I've just applied more pressure where I want the branches or the grass to be a little bit thicker and less pressure to my brush where I want them to be thinner. And then I'm just repeating the step with the reeds. So when it comes to doing the reeds, I'm just painting on a straight line, getting it as straight as possible, and then just thickening up the top just to replicate that leafy image. I then pop that in to cure for 30 seconds, and now I'm going to switch to coconut. Now coconut I find is the brightest white from Kiki London. It's very crisp and very pigmented, which makes it great for hand painted nail art. And I'm also going to swap from my stripe liner brush to my detail brush. And with the coconut I wanted to add on a moon and some clouds. So I'm going to come in and paint on the circle shape for the moon to begin with. Now whenever I'm painting anything that's a circular shape, because I know it's a little bit tricky, or is for me anyway, to paint on a symmetrical crisp circle, I always do it slightly smaller than I want it to be. Then I can come in and make it a little bit bigger as I'm making it symmetrical and making it neater, if that makes sense. Now I didn't want the moon to look like a really crisp white circle plonked on the nail. I kind of wanted it to look how the moon looks, basically, where, you know, you've got patches that look a little bit darker than others. So what I've done is I've dipped my stripe liner brush onto my Kiki London alcohol pad, and as you see there, I just was blotting it over, and that's removed some of the pigment from the gel polish and just give it a bit of an uneven effect so it looks a little bit more realistic. And I'm doing the same here with the clouds. So I've painted on the cloud, and then I'm wiping my brush onto the Kiki London alcohol pads. This is filling my brush with enough alcohol that I can blend the cloud out a little bit. And then if I do want to add any more detail, so I want the top of the cloud to look a bit whiter, I can then come in with a little bit more gel polish. So you'll see here again, painting it on, just creating a rough cloud shape, and then I'm blending it out. And then I'll just continue doing this until I'm happy with it. If you want it to look a little bit more blended, you can use a little bit more alcohol on your brush. So here I just come in with it dampened again, and I'm just blending out the edges a little bit more. Then I decided to do two little birds like we did on the first nail, because I did think that they just looked quite cute. Just two little squiggles, and they really add that extra bit of detail in my opinion. So that's this now finished. I'm then going to pop that in for a full 30-second cure. So because we've done a lot of heavy nail art on those two nails, I wanted to keep them the main focal point of the design. So on the other two remaining nails, I'm going to keep them quite plain and simple. So on the first nail, I'm going to do a full nail of Purple Rain, and then I'm going to add some crystals to this nail. So I'm going to come in and apply my first coat of colour. Now Purple Rain is very highly pigmented as well, so depending depending on what you're doing, you can also get away with one coat of this colour as well, to be honest. I did decide to come in and add the second coat of colour just because I'm not really doing too much nail art over the top of this, so I want to make sure you've got a nice even surface to look at. Curing each coat for 30 seconds in my Kiki London LED lamp. And then, like I said, I'm going to be adding some crystals to this now. So I'm going to take my No White rubber top coat and add some of this to my palette. Now I'm adding it to my palette rather than painting on the nail because I want all of these nails to have a matte finish. So I only want to add the rubber top coat where I want my crystals to go. So using my detail brush, I'm just applying that rubber top coat down where I know I'm going to be applying my crystals. And then I'm just picking up my crystals using a crystal tool and setting them down into that rubber top coat. This was a little bit fiddly. I kept dropping the crystals. I think I need a new crystal tool. But I'm basically just making sure that they're sitting nicely in the rubber top coat. I didn't want to apply too much of the rubber top coat. I only want it to be where my crystals are. So I like to apply a little bit, and then if I need more, I can apply it as I'm applying those crystals. Now, one of the reasons why I love applying crystals using the rubber top coat is it's not going to dry until you pop it into cure. So it gives you plenty of playtime with your crystals, especially when you're doing more intricate designs and you want to move them around. You can move them around as much as you like until you pop it into cure. The rubber top coat does require a 60-second cure, so I pop that in to cure for 60 seconds. And then on the last nail, I'm going to come in and just do one coat of neon prints, making sure it's a nice even coat because we are only going to be applying the one coat just because it's very highly pigmented. A second coat didn't seem necessary. And I'm going to be doing some stamping over the top of this as well. Now I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds, and then off camera I did remove the tacky inhibition layer with a Kiki London alcohol pad just because I find it easier to stamp when you've removed the tacky layer, but that's just my personal preference. So I wanted to keep with that whole tropical sunset vibe, so I picked out these two images and I absolutely loved how the gold stamping polish looked over that neon prints background. Blue and gold look absolutely beautiful together. So like I said, I did want to keep these two nails more simple because we've got a lot of the nail art on the middle two nails. So I'm just popping down those two images. And then once I've finished the stamping, it was then time to come in and top coat all of the nails. So I did want all of these nails to have a matte finish just because I really love how these neon colours and the neon pastels look matte. So I'm coming back in with my Kiki London matte top coat and just applying a thin layer of this to all of the nails. Now when it comes to any nails that have crystals or embellishments on, I like to come in with my detail brush and that matte top coat and go around them just to make sure they're fully sealed in, because if you was wearing this set you would want your crystals to stay on for the duration of the set. Then I'm going to matte top coat the two nails with all of that sunset nail art on them. How gorgeous do they look glossy as well? When you're applying the matte top coat, obviously it goes on glossy, so you do get an idea of how they look with a glossy finish, but I'm glad I went for matte because I was really impressed with how these looked at the end. Now when it comes to stamping, sometimes you'll find certain top coats can pit, but I haven't found that with any of my Kiki London top coats. I especially like top coating stamping with either the matte top coat or the classic top coat, so the one where you have to remove the tacky layer. I then pop them all in for a 30-second cure, and this, guys, is the finished result. They are giving me serious holiday vibes. I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have any requests, please pop them in the comments below as well. So I hope you're all keeping safe and well and enjoying the summer here in the UK. If not, then I hope the nails at least cheered you up. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Bye bye.